So July 2nd, today is full jacket today. I'll explain why. I'm not at all against wearing a full jacket and veil, not only whenever you feel comfortable, but especially when you're going to get seriously into the hives. So today, I've been neglecting these hives too long, so Cleobetra and Elizabeth and Felicity have all been sitting at a single box and essentially at risk of swarming. And so today I needed to get into these hives and just make sure that there was a queen, that there was activity, and also that the queen didn't have any swarm cells, and that there was no need for me to artificially swarm the hive. So let me just kind of go through it here, and if you are so inclined, you can follow along. So I started off with Elizabeth. Elizabeth is the hive that my brother John gave me as a nuke hive. She was marked as a blue queen, so she's a queen first time this year. Saw the queen, also saw a good number of capped brood and larvae. There were no queen cells. I was actually kind of surprised with as active and as packed out as everything was in that hive. So what I ended up doing, let me back up a second. What I ended up doing initially was I took 2 or 3 frames from Cleobetra, 2 or 3 frames from Beauty, and a couple of frames from Anne, and I took them into the shop and I spun out the nectar. At this time of the season, what's super important and super valuable is comb for the queen to lay. And there was some open comb in the bottom box of Elizabeth, not a lot though. And so just so that I can be safe, what I did is I did 2 things. First of all, I took 2 or 3 frames out that had nectar and pollen in them, and then secondarily I put in some blank comb of from frames that I had just spun. So what that's given her is not only 2 full frames of comb that she can lay in, but I also rearranged some of the frames. Secondarily, what I did is by moving those frames up to the top box, and I added a top box and a queen excluder. So the top box now has I think 3 or 4 frames of nectar and pollen, and then some blank frames, so that the hive has plenty of room now to put resources up in the top. I also moved a couple of frames of brood that had nectar and brood and pollen up into the top. The brood will emerge, and then they'll be able to get down through the queen excluder. Second hive I took care of was Felicity. Now Felicity was a swarm hive that we caught over in Coeur d'Alene. It's also been just a single box, and I was concerned after this much time that she might actually be ready to swarm. So a lot of the same activity here as Elizabeth. A lot of brood, a lot of larvae that I was able to find. The only problem is I'm out of queen excluders, and so at this point what I was able to do was move some things around and find enough open comb in the actual box itself, and there's no queen cells, so I'm planning to get a queen excluder and then put a second box on top of Felicity here so that they'll have room to expand. At this point, another really strong hive. Next thing I did is I went to Cleobetra, and as you can see, that's what happens when a very strong hive gets smoked. They decide they're going to camp outside for a while until things calm down. So Cleobetra inspected. Now remember, we have the queen excluder on this one. A lot of honey that's being capped in the top box. We will, because this is a single box setup and we can't put a third box on, we will start to set aside frames and do extractions and harvesting a frame at a time. So with Cleobetra, again, a lot of larvae, a lot of brood packed out in the bottom box. Same kind of thing I did with Elizabeth. I moved, I think, 3 or 4 frames that were brood and nectar and pollen and put them up into the top box. And again, since there's a queen excluder and I didn't put any drone brood up there, the workers, when they emerge, they'll be able to come back down. that brood up at the top, those worker brood up at the top, also gives the workers the encouragement to go up and build out more comb. So that's another thing. So then the second thing I did here was rearrange some of the frames, and also took a couple of other frames that we spun out that now know how they don't have nectar anymore, and put that down in the bottom box. So again, with Cleobitra, no queen cells to speak of, and the hive's going pretty strong, as you can see. Just to recap what else has been going on. So Ted and I inspected Anne this last Saturday. We found some queen cells, and we concluded that we're pretty confident that she's lost. So what we ended up doing with Anne, we did find some queen cells, and we made an actual split. Actually, you know what? I'm going to back up because I'm not certain. I'm going to have to look at my notes and see what we did. I'll tell you what we did do. So Abigail Grace, as you know, let me back up. Let me come back to Anne. So Abigail Grace, as you know, is the laying queen daughter of Grace, which is our flow hive out in the garden. So I checked her this last Saturday and found eggs and larvae and saw the queen. So she's doing great. She's an Italian. These other two boxes, this one here, this white one, and that other little nuke hive, those are queen cells that we found from Beauty, and we built out the Beauties. We split Beauty into 3 parts. So there's a nuke hive there that's unnamed, a nuke hive here that's unnamed, and then I ended up leaving 1 queen cell in Beauty because we couldn't find Beauty herself, but so we figured, okay, maybe we just couldn't find her. Anyway, I checked again today. This hive, and I'll include a picture on this post of what happens when you don't put back all 10 frames. So this hive, I'd only put back in 5 frames in the queen excluder, and they built out a huge section of honeycomb that, left unchecked, they would have started laying in. Anyway, I inspected the hive. I did find 1 queen cell, and the workers are still taking care of it. Now, if Beauty was still around, the workers would have torn down the queen cell, but because they're caring for it, it means that Beauty is not in this box. So this hive is actually going to be an offspring of Beauty. We don't know yet. If I check the other 2 nuke boxes, if I find Beauty, it just means we end up messing it up. Otherwise, those 2 nuke boxes also have queen cells from this hive. So we'll inspect these here in another week or so, maybe on Saturday, and determine whether or not the queen cells are still intact and what's actually going on in those. Okay, lastly, Anne, when we left things on Saturday, now I recall, we weren't sure what we were going to do. We were fairly certain that we didn't have the queen, even though we found a single small patch of larvae. Actually, I'm not sure if Ted and I found that or if it was I found it the next day, but found a small little patch of larvae in there. And this has been going on with Anne for about the last month, where we'll inspect her 1 week and we might find nothing, no signs of any larvae, no eggs, no sign of Anne. And then a week later, we might find a small patch of larvae. So what it really truly indicates is that the queen is really lame, just barely making it along, very weak for pheromones. So what I did, I was over at the Coeur d'Alene Resort with my brother John. He has a hive that they lost the queen, and the workers built out about 15 emergency queen cells. I took one of those frames, literally that has 10 or so emergency queen cells on it, and I placed it in the bottom of this box. Here's what's going to happen. When we inspect this hive on Saturday, if those queen cells are either hatched or, emerged, or still intact, it means that Anne is truly lost or is so weak that her pheromone is not giving out enough to make the workers strong, to make the workers realize that she's still there. If instead those queen cells, those emergency cells, have been torn down or torn apart on the side, it means that Anne is still present and strong enough to give off enough pheromone that they believe they've still got an active queen. What we'll figure out here on Saturday with Anne is that if those queen cells are intact, then Anne as a queen is gone and we'll get a new hive going. If, on the other hand, those queen cells have been torn down, because this hive is not producing at all right now when it comes to larvae, we'll turn this into a resource hive. So the one that we didn't inspect today was Grace, the flow hive. We'll do that one again on Saturday. She's got 8 frames. She started off as a manual or a virtual swarm, so I'm not concerned about her. There we have it.